Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of FitzRupee Cast featuring DoW2 the Elite Mod. Red-Rupee here calling the shots for you tonight as always, and welcome back in the D and Cliff Mines. We've got a 2-on-2 starting on the red side. Aspiring Fisher as the Chaos Sorcerer. His ally HiveMinion as the Tyranid Hive Tyrant. On the blue side, their opponents, Electric Worry as the Force Commander for the Space Marine Army, and also for the Space Marines, oh my, as the Space Marine Apothecary. So, Median Cliff Mines, probably my favorite 2-on-2 map here. We've got Space Marines versus Chaos and Tyranid. Space Marine teams in team games, probably really difficult to break. I think most people agree on that, especially with the combination of the Force Commander and Apothecary. Both very solid synergies with their Space Marine armies, and both going to be able to keep their already tanky squads on the field even longer. So we'll have to see how the Tyranids and Chaos forces choose to deal with this. Right now we see the Tyranids heading in. Now this looks probably like a poor engagement for the Tyranid player. His ally went south to harass power, it looks like, while he found both of his opposing heroes here in the center with both squads attacks, and that's a bit much for these squads of Gaunts and the Hive Tyrant himself to deal with. He's going to be able to poke at these tactical Marines, but of course the Apothecary is just going to fix them right up and keep focus firing down that Hive Tyrant. Right now we do have the Sorcerer coming in on the opposing side. Might actually be able to force off at least one of these squads of tactical Marines, but both squads are maneuvering rather well to keep out of any sort of danger from that melee squad. Managed to get them down. If you can get those heretics down to about 2/3 or half health, the attacks will actually beat them in melee. Yeah, and we saw a down squad there nice and quickly. Another heal goes off. That's the problem with those long engagements. The longer these engagements go, the more the Apothecary is going to have the advantage, because it's just going to keep adding more hit points for you to try to wear down on these squads. In these team games, more so even than in single games, you're obviously trying to force retreats on key squads, especially in the early game when you're not really going to be getting squad wipes so much. And the Apothecary with his heal and the Force Commander with his disruption is just really going to slow down any attempt to do either of those. As it stands, it looks like the red team's eventually going to get control of the center here, as the Sorcerer did manage to wrap around. Didn't break that power node, but he had to get back into the center so he could help out his ally. Up top, we do have HiveMinions harassing power on the far end, and HiveMinions decapping the victory point, so HiveMinion managed to get his Gaunts out of there from the center and put them to use elsewhere pretty quickly. Something you definitely have to keep in mind is those team positionings in team games, whether it's worth trying to stick around and get that one-on-one battle or a 2-on-1, or whether you just need to fall back and try to support your allies wherever you can. Scouts do a little patch job mid-battle on that power generator and manage to rout those HiveMinions before they manage to take out the second gen. Down bottom, Heretics just now getting the cap. Looks like the Sorcerer's going for a double Chaos Marine build. Both of our Space Marine players now have Assault Marines onto the field, so those dual assault jumps are going to be very disruptive once the next team fight comes down. Only one squad of Termagants currently has the Toxin Sacks, the other are uprooting right now. It looks like we have Raveners coming onto the field, perfectly timed to knock back those Assault Space Marines, but I'm not sure the Tyranids have quite the damage output to really put a stop to this Space Marine advance with the Apothecary right now. The Hive Tyrant's already pretty beat up. We've got Devourers coming down on the Raveners, but the second jump comes in. Apothecary has plenty of energy left for a heal. And the Hive Tyrant now finding himself completely out of sorts here. He's going to have to get on back out of there. 420 to 450 VPs rapidly changing hands so far in these opening engagements. Second squad of Heretics coming out for Aspiring Fisher right now. Oh my, and Electric Worry taking control of the map for the time being. Got two generators down, and looks like a small gen bash going down on the far side for the red. The blues have both of their gen farms completely up now, finishing up those last couple generators that were just purchased. One gen goes down as the Tyranids move back out to deal with this Apothecary. Raveners moving in position as the Assaults jump in. The Assault's going to have to deal with the Hive Tyrant and Termagants. Apothecary looks like he's going to get assassinated right as he heals those tactical Marines with those Raveners, and only taken him out a moment sooner, they would have made short work of those attacks. But as it stands, looks like they got a kill on those Assault Space Marines, maybe even get a second model. They're looking very low right now. Hormagon's trying to do what they can, but looks like they might not be able to finish the job. Look at that, 4 HP, 3 HP, and still 2 models. One finally fell as the Hormagons fall behind on the retreat kills there.
The enemy is
very fortunate for the Apothecary to get out of there. Oh, down bottom. Looks like we saw the Force Commander overextend a little bit. Not sure what happened down here.
Is under attack.
The Force Commander a bit brazen in the face of all of that Chaos Space Marine fire. Up top, looks like the Gen Bash is getting returned. At least one generator is going to go down here, but with the Flamer attacks and Shotgun Scouts moving in, those Hormagons aren't going to stand a chance. Oh, so many nidbits all over the place. What a bloody mess.
One of our own has died.
Into the middle, it looks like some Chaos Marines just hanging out, blasting away at power generators. Need to get some Heretics in here. There we go. Both Aspiring Champions upgraded, so that's really going to be a mess for those Assault Squads right here. You can see they didn't even decide to stick around. It didn't take much. Sorcerer doesn't really have an answer for this Devastator at the moment, but he doesn't really need to get Raptors. If he wanted to, he could get the Sigil of the Rift and pull that Devastator right into this pile of melee. I think that would be pretty excellent.
The enemy is claiming a victory point.
But as it stands right now, it looks like Electric Worry is going to be able to hold his gen farm for the time being. That Devastator is exactly what he needed to ward off that Sorcerer. Sorcerer didn't have any upgrades, so he wasn't able to teleport in and disrupt or anything along those lines. Assault Marines plowing down once again, getting right in the face of all these Termagants. Neither the Hormagants or the Raveners were here to support them. So as it stands right now, Hive Tyrant's going to be the only real threat to those Assault Space Marines. Toxin Sacks going down. The second Assault Jump comes in, but the Raveners are there this time and going to be pouring out that big Devour DPS into those Assault Space Marines. Apothecary's nowhere to be found. I think he's down in the center of the map, so he's not going to be able to support these assaults or the Tactical Marines against all these Gaunts. Nice Flamer damage getting down on those Termagants, though, actually getting them pretty critically low on health. And probably because of that, delaying this Gen Bash a little bit, and maybe even saving a Gen or two if these Assault Marines and Apothecary can get in a position to prevent that total Gen Bash. Everyone's heading into Tier 2 right now. Oh my is almost there, or already there, rather. Electric Worry is going to be slightly ahead. HiveMinion's a bit behind on tech. The red team didn't have their gens up quite as quickly as the blues. Hasn't really been much of a team fight here in the center, and I think that's what you want to do against the Space Marines, is keeping them from being able to blob up and kind of hit that critical mass of bulk and DPS, along with the Apothecary and Force Commander support. Keep harassing those gem farms on either side and kind of delay the center game big battles for as long as you can. So, oh wow, we see already both squads of Space Marines upgraded to the Mark of Siege here for the Sorcerer. Sorcerer also has some kind of upgrade. He went for the Robes of Torment here, which should be really excellent for controlling those dual Assault Space Marines we're seeing from our Space Marine opponents here. Razorback's now on the field as well, which is only going to make the Space Marine field presence even stronger. And it looks like we're going to be seeing a team battle here just in a moment. Brood Nest is going down, but both of those Assault Space Marine squads are on these Termagants. Oh man, and a brutal, merciless strike right there, ripping Gaunts apart. Let's see if they just barely managed to escape. Luckily, the Space Marines were focused on the new threat here. Heretics running all up in the mess of everything, but taking lots of Flamer and Shotgun fire still. Have to be careful. Even with those Robes of Torments down there, there's still plenty of ranged DPS to worry about. Those squads of Siege Marines have to fall back. That's the problem with going double Siege in a matchup like this, is that it is surprisingly high DPS from all sides. No matter how you look at it, those Siege Marines are going to be putting out some hurt, but it's also a singularly easy army to stop. All you need is a suppression squad or a little bit of melee interruption, and those Siege Marines are really going to be completely useless. As we saw, they got very easily routed there. I think you probably want to go for a different tier 2 purchase immediately. Getting those Siege Marines immediately, it doesn't really add anything to your composition other than more DPS, which is great, but if you're already dealing with a suppression squad, like we saw Aspiring Fisher having trouble with earlier, and now there's a vehicle on the field, you spend a lot of resources upgrading units that don't really add any versatility to your army. So we'll have to see if Aspiring Fisher, he's got plenty of resource, so he will be able to pull something else onto the field here shortly if he wants to get some Plague Marines or a Havoc to deal with that Razorback. But as it stands right now, that Razorback is pretty uncontested on this side of the map.
The enemy is claiming a victory point.
Tyranid army finding that Devastator Marine squad out of position. Oh, there is the Warp Rift on the field from that Sorcerer. Devastator Marine squad getting the Veil of Time and turning and opening fire with only a single model, but managing to put a stop to the full red team advance. Now Smite's going down, Merciless Strike obliterating. Oh my gosh, that was a brutal strike there. One squad of Heretics completely annihilated the other with only an Aspiring Champion falling back. Chains of Torment did go down to interrupt the Space Marine advance a little bit here, but they kind of didn't turn to single out the lone assault squad that was behind enemy ranks. There's a summoning circle going on in the back to try to disrupt the Force Commander's push right here, buying some time for the remaining Nids and Chaos Forces to single out a couple more tactical Marines. As it stands, though, they can just fall back to the relative safety of that Razorback because there's still nothing out here that can deal with that. Hive Tyrant's kind of just hanging out with his Crush Claw in the back. I'm not sure if the HiveMinion kind of forgot he's back there or whether he's stuck. What's going on right now? Those Siege Marines can actually output a little bit of soft anti-vehicle damage if they both focus on that Razorback. The Scouts preparing at this point, and now the Assault Space Marines jumping in once again after getting some reinforcement off that Razorback. Yeah, and we can see once again those Siege Marines pretty easily routed. Hive Tyrant's in a bit of trouble. Force Commander went down, but it looks like the Hive Tyrant's going to go down in response. Chaos Space Marines getting forced off, and now the Assault's got to heal just in the nick of time. Merciless Strikes going off everywhere. In combination with those Smites, man, that AoE damage has been brutal to the Tyranid forces. Well, that was actually really weird. I think the Assault Space Marine reinforced right here and then kind of popped over to the Razorback, if anyone caught that. But a successful push, and this is kind of what I was talking about trying to prevent this sort of fight right here. Right now, the Space Marines have immense staying power between the Apothecary heal and the reinforcement from the Razorback. There's really, unless you can eliminate this Razorback, there's really no way that the Chaos and Tyranid forces are going to be able to push forward against this army. They should really probably just try to keep doing what they were doing earlier and keeping the Space Marines, forcing them to stay split up. But as it stands, everyone's heading into Tier 3 except for Electric Worry. Electric Worry can head Tier 3 as soon as he finishes up this Plasma Devastator, which I think is going to be a huge hit. That Plasma Dev against... This is kind of the crux of the Red Team's forces right now, is these two squads of Siege Marines and the Termagants. They're putting out all the ranged DPS right here, and these Assault Space Marines just charging in, not even afraid of it. Angels of Death now activated on top of that. Chains of Torment going down once again. Assault Marines able to jump out of it, though, and to keep the pressure on these ranged squads. Nice use of the Razorback Smoke Grenade there, trying to prevent any ranged DPS focus fire from the lockdown melee squads from the Chains of Torment. Ultimately didn't matter, but I like the thought of that play. And that engagement kind of played a bit obtuse from the red team, didn't manage to really accomplish anything. And it's going to be harder and harder to do that as the Apothecary and the Force Commander, like, as these squads are leveling up and as the Apothecary's heal is getting stronger, it's going to be harder and harder to break these squads and send them packing. Razorback, Flamer, Smite, Merciless Strike, all of that just ripping all of these Gaunt squads apart so very quickly. Tyranids now just facing both armies at the gate of their own base and breaking down that power node. Looks like HiveMinion had the right idea. He was going to head north again, but he got forced off by both Space Marine forces here, and now he's going to lose his gem farm for the effort. Shield wall going down, actually knocking back his ally, trying to retreat. It's a good thing there isn't melee here. That could have been a lethal mistake. I think the Librarian was just excited he had a staff and wanted to use his ability, even though it didn't really matter too much. That Librarian's managed to sneak away a couple times despite the Hive Tyrant Crush Claw being there. That Crush Claw does, I think, over 100 damage per swing. It's actually pretty brutal. And the Librarian can be pretty frail if you don't keep track of him. He's not a very, very strong commander if he gets into the thick of it, or sub-commander rather. Devastator squad should be able to blast away and weaken some of these gauntlet squads here in the center. Carnifex upgraded with that Thornback already, so he's going to be ready to charge forward. I'm not sure the Thornback is the best choice here. I feel like maybe having a ranged Carnifex at this point, but considering that the main threat have been these kind of obnoxious Assault Space Marines, maybe he doesn't want to have a ranged force. 258 to 182. This Carnifex now getting some Melta Bombs down on it. Force Commander already with his Fist upgrade. Unfortunately, he used the the Carnifex charge to move forward instead of kind of saving it. There was nothing out here that really required that charge. I think people get excited to use that charge and don't realize how useful it would be to have a charge retreat on a walker, because right now we're seeing this Carnifex in a lot of trouble. Force Commander now getting singled out here, though. There is, however, a Predator getting upgraded with twin-linked las cannons coming onto the field. Razorback going deep behind enemy lines as the Force Commander gets thrown over the shoulder of the Carnifex like a ragdoll. Wow, look at this brazen Devastator positioning on this Plasma Dev. Went behind enemy lines to try to set up there. Right now the Predator's trying to get the final kill on this Carnifex. Second squad moving in now. Rockets and Melta Bombs going down on the Tyrannid Carnifex. I don't think that thing's going to get back home. It activated the charge just at the end, but didn't quite manage to get out of there before the last rocket sent it packing. 180 to 230 right now. The red team does have control of the victory points, but they're going to have to fall back for the time being. Sorcerer does manage to get the chains down once again, and now those Siege Marines having free reign to open up. Oh man, and look at that, a Land Raider Phobos warped right on top of the Sorcerer, and that's the last thing you want to see if you're that Razorback. This could even be terrible news for the Predator, which, if that Phobos turns to fire, could make short work of that tank. All of the Space Marines hop inside that Land Raider for the time being. That Predator's getting perilously low. One more shot. Oh no, and it misfires. I don't think he had the Predator selected there. If it would have had one more Las Blast inside of that, that would have been just about it. As it stands right now, Angels of Death gets activated again, trying to buy some retreat time, saving that Librarian's life, along with preventing any of those Assault Space Marine models from going down right there. Scouts getting the decap, trying to keep the pressure on the victory points as much as they can, because despite seeming to win those engagements, the blue team did have to fall back and cede the victory points to the Reds once again. 187 to 180. That Phobos saving the day right there, forcing back the majority of the Space Marine forces on its own with that sudden appearance. Sorcerer just warped that bad boy right on in. It is pretty well beat up though, and the Sorcerer did lose his Heretics. He has no Heretic squads left. Another summoning circle going down. I think that's the third summoning circle we've seen here. But now with both a Phobos and a Dreadnought on the field, we're going to need to see some Heretics on the field to really do a repair job. Keep that Phobos on the field. The Tyranids, of course, don't have any repair units, so they're not going to be able to assist. Not really that great with mechanics, the Termagants. Another Smite combined with an Assault Jump coming in to make short work of these Termagants. Two squads of Tactical Marines down. I think that was a drop pod? Yeah, that was a drop pod The one squad, the Rocket squad, actually went back with just a single Sarge. That was all that was left, so he used the drop pod to reinforce the 3 attacks and get himself a new squad. HiveMinion, though, not looking with a particularly strong army at this point, down to just his Gaunts and Ravagers. That's essentially the same thing he had in Tier 1, so we'll have to see what he chooses to get at this point in the game. He doesn't really have a lot of power, and the red team's power income is looking pretty low. But with the ranged output right now of the Chaos Force between the 2 Siege Marines, this autocannon Dreadnought, and that Phobos should be quite enough. Unfortunately, I think this is a Terminator call-in, and now with the Melta Bomb going down, a tank which just barely escaped destruction last time. I think this, yeah, that Dreadnought just got obliterated right there. Didn't even stand a chance. This Land Raider Phobos should be still a pretty viable unit at this stage in the game, but it needs to get repaired. Heretics are on the field fixing that thing up now. But these Assault Terminators now, with the help of both the Librarian and the Apothecary, are going to be a real terror on the field. Lictor is been purchased for HiveMinion, and HiveMinion also getting himself a Venom Brood on top of that. Look at that beautiful Plasma Devastator shot. Oh my gosh, that was lovely. Just blasted both of those Siege Marines. That's the thing with those Siege Marines, is that you don't want to keep them blobbed up. You pretty much want to keep them as far away from each other as possible while still being able to focus fire down a squad, because things like Smite, things like that Plasma Dev, even grenades and that sort of stuff, and flamers, is gonna really do that AoE that you don't want to see. When those 2 squads are pretty much the whole point of your army, the whole damage output right there, you really want to make sure AoEs aren't going to be able to take them out in a single blow. 62 to 180 though. And despite looking pretty rough for the red team, they're managing to keep the victory point pressure on 58 right now and ticking down. There's a lot of beef on the field for the blue team, but if the red team can keep holding on with these victory points, they might have a chance at getting back in this. They do still have a Land Raider on the field. Subjugation activated, stole the teleport from those Terminators. Although I think that would have been better used maybe to teleport on top of that Plasma Devastator and force a retreat. I guess the plan was to teleport them into enemy fire without having any support, the Land Raider and the Venom Broods that can actually do some pretty solid damage to these guys. And especially since we have, I think, what is that, the 4th summoning circle that's come down here. A little bit of friendly fire from that Plasma Dev, making it a bit perilous for these Terminators to be so far forward. Tactical Marines trying to tie up, or trying to take out this Land Raider Phobos. Right now, those missile attacks need to get tied up. The Predator did go down. However, the Plasma Devastator's still way in the back here. Terminator's been upgraded to the Terminator armor here. Phobos is in a lot of trouble. Power Fist coming down. Plasma Dev finishes it off with a single shot to the rear armor there. Terminators are getting very low. Plasma Devastator's still firing away though, putting on some huge damage. Flamers on the back line trying to melt some Gaunts. And now with the Apothecary and his armor of the Apothecary and keeping these assault squads more or less indefinitely healed. 51 to 113, a 1-0 cap for the Blues. They might be able to finish off this cap down here. Up top, the Lictor trying to do what he can against 2 squads of shotgun scouts. Might actually be able to force these guys off. His DPS is very high. If he can keep if he can force off one of these squads, he'll be good to go.
The enemy has 100.
There he goes. Red team's not going to be able to take the center, but they can keep the pressure on those side points very easily. The Space Marine army, not the most mobile army. But unfortunately, Aspiring Fisher is down to just 2 squads of Chaos Space Marines. And getting a 3rd, is that what the plan is? That can't be right. There's got to be something better he can get at this point other than more Chaos Space Marines.
Go ahead.
HiveMinion with a full army now, getting the Doom of Malantai, or I guess, did they change the name of that? Is that a Neurothrope now? Venom Brood. I don't know. I bet it was the Doom of Malantai last I checked. Aspiring Fisher saying he can still support with demons. Oh, there he goes. He's going to get himself some bloodletters. Majority of the Space Marine forces coming over here right now. All he needs to do is force off these Assault Space Marines, and I'm pretty sure this will be no problem. 51 to 84. Hormagon's trying to get the cap. Oh, but a rocket finishes him off the one model that was trying to get the cap in there. Nice Tyranna formation going down, getting some serious hurt on those tactical Marine squads. Oh, the last model of that assault squad dies on retreat. Lictor now in here causing some big hurt on top of all these attacks. Apothecary now with that advanced healing once again. Cataclysm going down, knocking everything back, interrupting the Apothecary. Now we've got an orbital strike coming down. The Tyranids are rapidly trying to get out from under it. Looks like one Venom Brood and the Neurothrope managed to get down, caught in that, but everything else managed to escape. We've got another call in here. Wait, is that another orbital bombardment? It lands right on top of the majority of the Tyranid army, and they are going to get completely obliterated by this. Oh, this is beautiful. This is the best bug zapper I've ever seen. Oh no, the Assault Space Marines jump into. Oh my gosh, did they just get completely annihilated? Yeah, both Assault Space Marine squads are now gone. Lots of demons still spawning, trying to buy time for the real bloodletters to cap here. That could be a critical mistake. I don't know why Electric Worry sent his Assault Space Marines. I don't know if he just misjudged the timing on that jump or what. Fortunately for HiveMinion, all he really lost there, I think, was one squad of Gaunts. It did get a full rout from the Tyranid army, which is brutal right now, considering the points are neck and neck. It's 37 to 56 right now. It's a 2-0 cap. Gaunts are trying to get a cap and buy some time as the Tyranid forces push back forward. I think if this force gets back up against the Apothecary, without those Assault Space Marines, they certainly have a real chance at taking back the map. Sorcerer is getting the cap down bottom. He's got the Tome of Subjugation, so he will be able to control those Terminators if it comes down to it. Raveners now moving in on the point, 37 to 25. The Terminators are up top, though. Knew they shouldn't mess around with that that Sorcerer right now. And this Neurothrope's in a lot of trouble. Raveners trying to get the decap, 13 points remaining for the red team. It doesn't look like it's going to happen. They're trying everything they can to get that decap down. Ravener managed to dodge the special attack there. Oh no, but the own Hive Tyrants without number knocks the Raveners off the point. They do manage to get the decap just in the nick of time. A little more friendly fire from that Plasma Dev. It's been doing as much harm as good recently. Oh no, but sneaky scouts get down bottom to get the decap. 4-3, that's going to be it. Just barely managed to save the game there. I think those scouts probably just barely managed to save that game. Wow. That was almost a throw from the blue team, I think, right there. There was another Dreadnought coming onto the field. If only Aspiring Fisher had left a squad of Siege Marines to deal with these scouts on that point instead of going full on into the center. Those victory points, when you're that low on victory points, that's what you need to do, is just constantly monitor that, especially when you know Electric Worry had been really keeping those scouts on the back end to try to get that cap down. But excellent teamwork there from the Space Marine Army in the mid-game, really just locking down the center. And that's really what you don't want to be fighting against when it comes to those Space Marines, is just that big blob of Space Marine bulk. It's really hard to get those squads off the field, especially when you have an Apothecary and a Razorback on the field. So very excellent play. Unfortunately, both of the red team's walkers kind of got thrown away. That Thornback Carnifex and the first Dreadnought that came out. But anyways, that's the game. Oh, that orbital bombardment. Oh my goodness. What a blast that was. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I did. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Hit me up on the social media. I always appreciate hearing from you folks. This is Red-Rupee. Send me your replays. I'll catch you guys next time.